Welcome to the Unknown Vault. Here, every mystery is not just a story, but a gateway to secrets long hidden. Are you ready to uncover what the world was never meant to know? If you are, make sure to hit that subscribe button, turn on the bell, and join us as we unlock the unknown together. Imagine traveling back more than 2,000 years ago, to the heart of ancient Greece. There, a great philosopher named Plato wrote something that would ignite one of the greatest mysteries in human history. In his famous dialogues, Timaeus and Critias, Plato introduced the world to a story about a civilization so advanced, so powerful, that it seemed to exist beyond its time. That civilization was Atlantis. Plato claimed that the story was passed down to him through his grandfather, who had heard it from Solon, a respected statesman and poet of Athens. During Solon's travels to Egypt, he was told by Egyptian priests about an ancient tale, a tale of a powerful island nation that once existed beyond the Pillars of Hercules, what we now know as the Strait of Gibraltar. The island, according to the account, was massive, larger than Libya and Asia Minor combined in his writings. Plato described Atlantis as a kingdom of immense wealth and glory. Its cities were adorned with breathtaking architecture, its harbors filled with ships, and its canals carved skillfully to connect the heart of the city to the sea. At the very center of Atlantis stood a grand palace, its walls gleaming with gold and silver, a symbol of unmatched prosperity. The Atlanteans were described as strong, ambitious, and masters of the seas, their navy capable of reaching far and wide across the oceans. But Plato's tale was not just about their greatness, it was also about their downfall. He emphasized how, at first, the Atlanteans lived with justice and wisdom, but as their wealth grew, so did their arrogance. They hungered for more power, more control, until they sought to conquer the entire known world. Eventually, they clashed with the Athenians in a legendary battle. Then came their tragic end. According to Plato, in just a single day and night of calamity, Atlantis was swallowed by the sea. Violent earthquakes and floods consumed the island, leaving nothing behind. The once great empire disappeared without a trace, its glory buried beneath the waves. For Plato, Atlantis was not just a tale of wonder, but also a moral lesson, warning of how greed and hubris could destroy even the mightiest of civilizations. What makes this tale even more fascinating is that it came from Plato, a philosopher, not a myth maker. Was Atlantis simply an allegory, a metaphor for human arrogance? Or was it a real place, a lost civilization that once thrived before vanishing into history? That question has haunted thinkers, explorers, and dreamers for centuries. From Plato's pen, the legend of Atlantis was born, and with it, a mystery that still lingers today. Was it just a myth? Or was there truly a great empire lost beneath the sea, waiting to be rediscovered? Imagine traveling back more than 2,000 years ago to the heart of ancient Greece. There, a great philosopher named Plato wrote something that would ignite one of the greatest mysteries in human history. In his famous dialogues, Timaeus and Critias, Plato introduced the world to a story about a civilization so advanced, so powerful, that it seemed to exist beyond its time. That civilization was Atlantis. Plato claimed that the story was passed down to him through his grandfather, who had heard it from Solon, a respected statesman and poet of Athens. During Solon's travels to Egypt, he was told by Egyptian priests about an ancient tale, a tale of a powerful island nation that once existed beyond the Pillars of Hercules, what we now know as the Strait of Gibraltar. The island, according to the account was massive, larger than Libya and Asia Minor combined in his writings. Plato described Atlantis as a kingdom of immense wealth and glory. Its cities were adorned with breathtaking architecture, its harbors filled with ships, and its canals carved skillfully to connect the heart of the city to the sea. At the very center of Atlantis stood a grand palace, its walls gleaming with gold and silver, a symbol of unmatched prosperity. The Atlanteans were described as strong, ambitious, and masters of the seas. Their navy, capable of reaching far and wide across the oceans. But Plato's tale was not just about their greatness, it was also about their downfall. He emphasized how, at first, the Atlanteans lived with justice and wisdom, but as their wealth grew, so did their arrogance. They hungered for more power, more control, until they sought to conquer the entire known world. Eventually, they clashed with the Athenians in a legendary battle. Then came their tragic end. According to Plato, in just a single day and night of calamity, Atlantis was swallowed by the sea. Violent earthquakes and floods consumed the island, leaving nothing behind. The once great empire disappeared without a trace, its glory buried beneath the waves. For Plato, Atlantis was not just a tale of wonder, but also a moral lesson, warning of how greed and hubris could destroy even the mightiest of civilizations. What makes this tale even more fascinating is that it came from Plato, a philosopher, not a myth maker. Was Atlantis simply an allegory, a metaphor for human arrogance? Or was it a real place, a lost civilization that once thrived before vanishing into history? That question has haunted thinkers, explorers, and dreamers for centuries. From Plato's pen, the legend of Atlantis was born, and with it, a mystery that still lingers today. Was it just a myth, or was there truly a great empire lost beneath the sea, waiting to be rediscovered? Ever since Plato first told the story of Atlantis, one question has burned brighter than all the rest. Where was it? Was Atlantis just an allegory, a cautionary tale woven by a philosopher? Or was it a real place, a once great civilization swallowed by time? That question has sparked endless debates for over 2,000 years, driving philosophers, historians, explorers, and modern scientists alike to chase the mystery. One of the most popular theories is the most obvious one, that Atlantis was located in the Atlantic Ocean itself. After all, its very name seems to point us there. According to Plato, the island lay beyond the Pillars of Hercules, what we now call the Strait of Gibraltar. If taken literally, this would place Atlantis somewhere in the vast Atlantic between Europe, Africa, and the Americas. Throughout the 19th and 20th centuries, explorers and divers scoured the ocean floor, searching for ruins of a lost city. To this day, no definitive proof has been found. Strange stone formations deep beneath the ocean have been hailed as ancient walls or roads, but mainstream science dismisses them as natural geological structures. Still, the lack of evidence has never stopped speculation. Some even claim that the Americas themselves could be remnants of Atlantisa, once massive island shattered by cataclysm. Others turn their attention to the Mediterranean. The island of Santorini, once called Thera, is one of the strongest candidates. Around 1600 BCE, a catastrophic volcanic eruption obliterated the Minoan civilization there, creating a massive crater and wiping out coastal cities. For some archaeologists, this event may have been the inspiration for Plato's tale of a powerful city swallowed by disaster. But the theories don't stop there. Some argue Atlantis lay among the Azores, the Canary Islands, or even the coast of Spain, Others point to the Caribbean, claiming Atlantis was hidden near the Bahamas. In the 1960s, divers discovered the so-called Bimini Road, a series of stone blocks lying underwater that many believed were remnants of Atlantean architecture. Geologists, however, remain firm. The formation is natural. Then there are theories far bolder still. Some writers insist that Atlantis was not in the west, but in the east in the vast islands of Indonesia. According to this view, Plato's description of a fertile tropical land rich in gold, spices, and natural wealth fits perfectly with ancient Southeast Asia. As the Ice Age ended and sea levels rose, much of this land may have vanished beneath the waves, leaving only scattered islands as fragments of a lost empire. Each of these theories is compelling in its own way, and together they show us something important. Atlantis has never just been about the past. It is a mirror for humanity's imagination, a canvas for our deepest questions about who we are and where we came from. Was Atlantis a myth, a memory, or a warning? The answer remains buried beneath the oceans, waiting for the day it will rise again. As time went on, scholars and storytellers began to see Atlantis not as an isolated legend, but as a missing linker thread woven into the tapestry of ancient civilizations. If Atlantis truly existed, then surely its legacy would have left behind echoes in other cultures, whispers in myths, or fingerprints in architecture. This is where the mystery deepens. Atlantis begins to feel less like a solitary tale and more like the hidden foundation of human history itself. One of the strongest connections is with ancient Egypt. Plato himself claimed that the story of Atlantis had been preserved by Egyptian priests and passed on to the Greeks. According to him, in the Temple of Sais, there were records of a mighty kingdom that fell into ruin after a catastrophic disaster. This has led many to speculate the survivors of Atlantis may have fled to Egypt, where they shared their advanced knowledge, perhaps even helping to build the pyramids or shaping the mystical sciences that defined Egyptian culture. Others turn westward, toward Mesoamerica. The Mayans and Aztecs built great step pyramids, tracked the stars with uncanny precision, and preserved myths of a great flood that destroyed earlier worlds. To some, these parallels are no coincidence. They suggest that Atlantis may have reached across the seas, influencing the ancestors of these civilizations, or perhaps even becoming their origin. Then there are the Sumerians of Mesopotamia, world's first great urban society. Their myths tell of gods descending from the heavens, bringing writing, agriculture, and law. Some see this as a mirror of Plato's account of the Atlanteans, a people with extraordinary power and knowledge, almost godlike compared to their neighbors. Was Atlantis the real-world counterpart of these divine bringers of civilization? The evidence isn't limited to myths alone. Across the globe, we find pyramids, temples, and sacred geometry that seem to echo one another. From Egypt to Mexico, from Mesopotamia to Southeast Asia, the recurrence of similar forms has fueled speculation that all these cultures shared a common source of inspiration. Could it be Atlantis, the mother civilization that seeded knowledge across the world before vanishing into the sea? The flood myths add to the weight of the story. Nearly every culture carries a memory of waters rising and swallowing the earth. Noah's flood, the Hindu Pralaya, the Mesopotamian epic of Gilgamesh. They differ in detail, but their resonance is the same global catastrophe remembered, like a scar on the human soul. Perhaps they are all fragments of the same event, the drowning of Atlantis, retold in different tongues across millennia to modern academia. Such theories are speculative at best, often dismissed as pseudo-history. But the allure remains irresistible. Atlantis is not just a lost city, it is imagined as the womb of civilization itself. The question is not just, did Atlantis exist? But did Atlantis make us who we are? Whether myth or reality, the story of Atlantis bridges the ancient world with our eternal hunger for answers. It makes us wonder if history is far deeper and far stranger than we dare to believe. When Plato described Atlantis, he didn't just write about a wealthy kingdom with golden temples and fertile lands. He painted a picture of a civilization that seemed light years ahead of its time. Their cities were adorned with gleaming metals, their ships crossed vast oceans with ease, and their agricultural systems were so advanced that other nations could hardly compare. It raises a haunting question. Did the Atlanteans possess technologies far beyond what ancient humanity should have been capable of? Some theorists argue that Atlantis might have had technology comparable to, or even more advanced than, what we have today. They suggest that the Atlanteans harnessed limitless energy, built flying machines, and created seafaring vessels capable of traveling incredible distances. Plato himself hinted that Atlantis had access to a mysterious kind of power and energy that allowed them to build vast canals and colossal palaces. Among the most popular ideas is the belief that Atlantis mastered the use of crystals as a power source. According to legend, these massive crystals could collect solar energy, amplifying it into a force that powered their cities. This theory has since evolved into modern discussions of free energy or zero-point energy, concepts that remain mysterious even in today's scientific world. If true, then Atlantis wasn't just a lost city. It was the home of a civilization with an energy system that could transform humanity. But just as with so many great legends, their glory was not eternal. Plato warned that the Atlanteans became greedy, intoxicated with power, and arrogant in their dominance. The gods, angered by this corruption, unleashed destruction. In a single day and night, earthquakes shattered the land, the seas rose up, and Atlantis sank beneath the waves. The story resonates with flood myths from across the world, as though humanity shares a scarred memory of some ancient catastrophe. Skeptics and geologists seek natural explanations. Some link Atlantis's fall to massive volcanic eruptions or tectonic events. One of the most common theories ties it to the eruption of Terra Santorini around 1600 BC, which devastated the Minoan civilization. Still, the scale of Atlantis's destruction as Plato described it feels far greater, almost cosmic in its weight. For those steeped in conspiracy, the story takes an even darker turn. They suggest that Atlantis may have destroyed itself, not through divine wrath or natural disaster, but by its own hand. Perhaps their crystal power experiments went catastrophically wrong. Perhaps they unleashed weapons of unimaginable power, tearing their world apart. In this telling, Atlantis becomes a warning about the dangers of unchecked technology, an ancient echo of our own nuclear age. And so, the story of Atlantis's downfall endures. Was it divine punishment, natural disaster, or self-destruction? No one knows for sure, but one thing is certain: Atlantis stands as a mirror to us, a reminder that even the mightiest civilizations can fall in a single night, swallowed by the very forces they thought they controlled. The legend of Atlantis has never remained confined to the dusty scrolls of Plato's writings. Over centuries, it has spilled out of ancient philosophy and seeped into the imagination of cultures worldwide. Atlantis became more than just a tale of a lost island. It became a cultural icon, a symbol of hidden knowledge, forgotten glory, and the tantalizing possibility that an advanced civilization once thrived before us. In literature, Atlantis has inspired countless works. In the 19th century, Jules Verne, often called the father of science fiction, hinted at the ruins of a drowned city in his novel 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, which many took as a nod to Atlantis. That single reference was enough to cement the idea of a sunken metropolis in the minds of readers, sparking waves of imagination about what could lie beneath the ocean's surface. As storytelling evolved, Atlantis found a home in fantasy and science fiction. Modern novels and comic books reimagined it as a city brimming with lost technology, mystical powers, or even as a hidden refuge for an ancient race still living under the waves. In these retellings, Atlantis never truly perished, simply withdrew from sight, biding its time beneath the sea. Hollywood, of course, couldn't resist. From pulpy adventure films to big-budget animations, Atlantis has been brought to life. Again and again. Disney's Atlantis, the lost empire, captured the imagination of a new generation, painting the city as a breathtaking underwater kingdom of lost technology and forgotten wonders. Through cinema, Atlantis wasn't just myth, it became an adventure, a journey, a world waiting to be rediscovered. Comics and superheroes also embraced the myth. DC Comics' Aquaman rules Atlantis as his underwater kingdom, while Marvel's Namor embodies another version of its legacy. Through these characters, Atlantis was no longer just a ruin beneath the sea, it was a living, breathing civilization, interacting with the surface world in ways both heroic and dangerous. The influence spread even further. Musicians invoked Atlantis in songs and albums, often using it as a metaphor for longing, mystery, or paradise lost. Video games turned it into an ultimate quest, a final level hidden beneath the ocean where secrets awaited discovery. And then there are the documentaries and conspiracy-driven shows that keep Atlantis alive in the cultural conversation. Programs like Ancient Aliens speculate endlessly about the city's ties to extraterrestrials, suggesting it may have been a hub of alien-human contact. These shows blur the line between myth, history, and speculation, ensuring that Atlantis remains both a mystery and a cultural phenomenon. What this proves is that Atlantis isn't just a story, it's an idea. It adapts, reinvents itself, and survives through every medium of human creativity. Whether it's a lost paradise, a cradle of alien technology, or simply a metaphor for human ambition, Atlantis continues to resonate because it speaks to something primal within us, our unending curiosity, and our hunger to believe that there's more hidden beneath the waves than we can ever imagine. Behind all the allure and mystery of Atlantis lies a sobering thought. What if the entire story was never meant to be taken as history at all? For centuries, scholars have argued that Plato's Atlantis was not a real place, but a moral allegory, a philosophical tale meant to warn against arrogance, greed, and unchecked power. In his dialogues, Timaeus and Cratius, Plato placed the story of Atlantis within a much larger philosophical conversation. To many historians, this is evidence enough that he didn't intend for readers to treat it as literal history. Instead, Atlantis was a divisive fictional society crafted to illustrate his ideas about politics, justice, and the dangers of corruption. In this interpretation, Atlantis wasn't a lost kingdom at the bottom of the sea, but a mirror held up to humanity, showing what happens when civilizations fall prey to hubris. This skeptical view gains even more strength when we realize that no other ancient source mentions Atlantis, Herodotus, the father of history, wrote extensively about lands and peoples across the known world, yet never once mentioned Atlantis. Nor did later Greek philosophers. This silence suggests that Plato may have invented the story entirely, drawing on familiar themes like great floods and lost cities, but weaving them into a cautionary tale uniquely his own. Critics also point to the overly symbolic details in Plato's account. The city of Atlantis, with its perfect concentric rings, seems more like a metaphor for cosmic order than a practical blueprint of urban planning. The immense size of Atlantis, bigger than Libya and Asia combined, seems impossible, especially given the geographical knowledge of the Greeks. These elements suggest allegory, not geography. And yet, despite all of this, the legend refuses to die. If Atlantis was only a story, why has it captured imaginations for over 2 millennia? Why have so many researchers, writers, and dreamers poured their lives into finding it? Perhaps it's because even the skeptics must admit one unsettling possibility: allegories can still contain fragments of truth. This is what makes Atlantis unique. For the rational mind, it's a parable. For the dreamer, it's a mystery waiting to be solved. And maybe, just maybe, it's both at once a story meant to teach, and a memory of something real buried deep beneath the waves. As time moved into the modern age, Atlantis evolved from a philosophical parable into the centerpiece of countless conspiracy theories. In today's world, where social media, online forums, and independent documentaries can spread ideas instantly, the story of Atlantis has been reborn. Wilder and more controversial than ever, one of the most popular theories suggests that Atlantis was not simply an ancient city but the capital of a super-advanced civilization. Some independent researchers claim that the Atlanteans had access to free energy, flying machines, and even powerful weapons capable of manipulating weather and natural forces. According to this view, Atlantis wasn't destroyed by nature alone, but by their own hubris, an experiment gone wrong. Not unlike the way we fear nuclear technology or military experiments today, another powerful narrative ties Atlantis to extraterrestrials. This theory rests on the belief that ancient humans couldn't possibly have built monumental structures like the pyramids or Stonehenge without outside help. Within this framework, Atlantis becomes the meeting ground between humans and alien visitors who shared advanced knowledge and technology. The downfall of Atlantis, then, is explained either as cosmic punishment for abusing this knowledge, or as the moment when those alien benefactors withdrew, leaving humanity to fend for itself. There are also conspiracies that suggest the truth about Atlantis is deliberately hidden by modern powers. Some theorists claim that organizations such as NASA, the CIA, or even shadowy groups like the Illuminati have discovered remnants of Atlantean technology and keep it locked away in secret facilities. These relics, they argue, form the basis of modern military advancements and are protected from public knowledge at all costs. Such theories often overlap with UFO sightings, underground experiments, and whispers of forbidden science in the hands of a global elite. Still others connect Atlantis to other so-called lost continents like Lemuria or Mu. In this narrative, Atlantis is just one piece of a vast, interconnected ancient civilization that stretched across the globe. Its fall and the destruction of other lost lands gave rise to the flood myths found in nearly every culture, from Mesopotamia's epic tales to the biblical account of Noah's Ark. Whether fantastical or chilling, these conspiracy theories keep Atlantis alive in ways Plato could never have imagined. For some, it represents lost technology. For others, alien intervention. And for many, it is the ultimate hidden truth, buried not only under the sea, but under layers of secrecy and control. That is the enduring power of Atlantis. It's not just a legend, but a canvas upon which humanity paints its deepest hopes, fears, and suspicions. Atlantis has long escaped the pages of Plato's dialogues and entered the world of popular culture, where it thrives as one of the most enduring mysteries in human imagination. The idea of a lost civilization, drowned beneath the waves yet brimming with secrets, continues to inspire art, literature, film, music, and even video games. Atlantis has become more than a myth. It's a cultural symbol, a metaphor, and an endless source of creativity. In literature, Atlantis has been reimagined countless times. During the Middle Ages, it was woven into religious allegories and mystical writings. By the 19th century, the legend gained renewed momentum through authors like Jules Verne and Ignatius Donnelly. Donnelly's influential book, Atlantis, The Antediluvian World, argued that all great civilizations from Egypt to the Maya were offshoots of the Atlanteans. His bold theories transformed public perception, presenting Atlantis not merely as myth, but as a plausible chapter of human history waiting to be uncovered. The legend's leap into cinema was inevitable. Hollywood tapped into Atlantis as the perfect stage for stories of adventure and discovery. Disney's animated Atlantis, The Lost Empire, gave the myth a new life for younger generations, while countless documentaries and blockbusters turned it into a visual spectacle and underwater paradise, a utopian dream, or a cautionary tale of hubris. On screen, Atlantis isn't just a place. It's a mirror reflecting humanity's greatest ambitions and deepest fears. Music, too, has drawn from the Atlantis myth. Progressive rock bands in the 1970s often used Atlantis as a metaphor for the rise and fall of civilizations, warning about humanity's fragility. Even in modern pop and electronic music, the name surfaces as a symbol of longing, beauty, or unattainable dreams. The myth resonates across genres, proving that Atlantis speaks to something universal in the human soul. In gaming, Atlantis has become an interactive playground. From role-playing adventures to sprawling open-world experiences, the lost city often appears as a hidden level, a forgotten civilization, or a treasure trove of ancient technology. For the gaming industry, Atlantis is not just a myth, but an endless canvas for exploration, mystery, and wonder. What's most striking about Atlantis, in popular culture, is how the focus shifts from historical accuracy to symbolism. Atlantis represents the fall of human pride, the longing for a golden age, and the haunting fear that we, too, may destroy ourselves. It's a story that adapts seamlessly to every era, every artistic medium, and every cultural need. Through popular culture, Atlantis becomes immortal. No longer confined to Plato's dialogues, it has been reshaped and retold endlessly, keeping the legend alive across centuries. For each generation, Atlantis is something new, a cautionary tale, a utopia, or a hidden truth waiting to be revealed. And that is the magic of popular culture. It keeps Atlantis alive, not as a dead myth, but as a living legend. Although many dismiss Atlantis as myth or allegory, the lost city has also been the subject of serious modern inquiry. For mainstream archaeologists and historians, Atlantis is seen as a moral tale invented by Plato to warn against the dangers of arrogance and unchecked ambition. Yet, for independent researchers, geologists, and alternative historians, the possibility of a real Atlantis remains compelling. One of the most scientific approaches to the mystery comes from geology. Some researchers argue that Plato's description of Atlantis sinking into the sea could refer to real catastrophic events, such as the eruption of the Santorini volcano around 1600 BCE. That eruption decimated the Minoan civilization, triggering massive tsunamis and destruction that could have lived on in oral traditions, eventually evolving into the legend of Atlantis. In this interpretation, Atlantis isn't a lost continent, but a cultural memory of real disasters. Modern underwater archaeology has also joined the hunt. Using sonar mapping, satellite imagery, and unmanned submersibles, scientists have explored the ocean floor in search of unusual structures. Reports have surfaced of strange formations in both the Atlantic Ocean and the Mediterranean Sea, which some claim to be ruins of an ancient city. However, skeptics often point out that these formations can be explained as natural geological phenomena. The academic world remains divided. Mainstream scholars continue to stress that no credible archaeological evidence supports the existence of Atlantis. Yet alternative researchers argue that the absence of proof is not proof of absence. Perhaps the ruins are buried deep beneath the ocean, beyond our reach, or perhaps, they claim, the evidence has been deliberately concealed. Interestingly, major outlets like National Geographic, Discovery Channel, and the History Channel frequently produce documentaries on Atlantis, blending scientific investigation with speculative storytelling. This reflects the enduring fascination with Atlantis, even among modern science communicators. Ultimately, Atlantis sits at the crossroads of myth and science. For some, it is a cautionary tale. For others, it is a challenge to dig deeper, dive further, and uncover what lies hidden beneath the waves. Between imagination and evidence, Atlantis persists, a legend waiting to be proven or disproven. Atlantis is more than just an ancient story. From Plato's writings thousands of years ago, it has grown into a legend that shaped art, literature, science, and even modern conspiracy theories. Whether it was a real city swallowed by the sea, or merely a metaphor crafted to warn against human arrogance, Atlantis endures because it taps into something deeply human: the hunger for mystery, the search for truth, and the dream of discovering something greater than ourselves. Perhaps Atlantis lies buried beneath the waves, hidden by time and water. Or perhaps it never existed at all. Yet, the legend refuses to die. Atlantis is not only about what may have been lost, but about what we continue to seek: knowledge, power, and meaning. It is less a city and more a reflection of our hopes and fears. And that is why the story still matters. Because the real question is not, did Atlantis exist? But what does Atlantis reveal about us? Are we chasing a forgotten civilization? Or are we staring into a mirror of our own ambitions and vulnerabilities? Now, I turn the question over to you. What do you believe? Was Atlantis real, a forgotten empire hidden beneath the sea, or was it only a metaphor, carefully crafted by Plato? Share your thoughts in the comments. I want to hear your theories, and if you enjoyed this journey into the unknown, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell, because this is just the beginning. Many more mysteries wait for US secrets that challenge history, reality, and maybe even the universe itself. Together, we'll dive deeper into the unknown.